What can the middle child of the EA500 and the EA2000 give you? Hello and thank you for clicking on this video. I'll be sharing my experience on Simgot's latest entry to their EA series. This is the EA1000 Fermat, which is a 1DD and 1PR, which stands for passive radiator, coming in at $220 US. Before we get to unboxing, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Damien from the Australian Head-Fi Tour and Simgot for arranging this tour and allowing me to be a part of it. However, as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. And if you've been enjoying my content, a sub to the channel would be greatly appreciated. This tour also comes with Simgot's upgrade cable, which is the Simgot LC7, coming in at $70 US, which we'll also be talking about in this video. Now, let's talk about unboxing for the EA1000. As you saw throughout the intro, you'll be greeted by this nice purple sleeve, and opening the box, you have this greeting card with Fermat's last theorem. Talk about giving you an epic intro to an IEM. Chances of you actually reading all that would be about 50%, but at least it'll make you want to keep the box. You'll be greeted by the EA1000 at first glance, and removing the IEM layer reveals a box underneath which has interchangeable silicone rings to differentiate which nozzles you'll be using. It comes with 2 sets of silicone ear tips at 3 different sizes and a manual. It also comes with a storage box with an engraving on the back of the box and also Simgot's logo at the front, and it's closed through a magnetic clasp, which honestly is something I prefer a lot more than zippers. Inside the case holds the stock cable, which actually looks really nice, and it complements the design of the EA1000. Silver strips over the white cable with some gold accents on the chin strap. It looks really nice for a stock cable. This package also comes with 2 additional interchangeable nozzles, and they've included a plate as well, so you can twist them on this plate and store them securely. Speaking of nozzles, there's 1 pair of gold nozzle and 2 pairs of silver nozzle, including the ones installed with the IEM, but they all have different layers of filters in it. The silver nozzle with the red rings has a standard mesh at the nozzle, the gold nozzle with the white rings has an additional filter on the mesh, and the silver nozzle with the black rings have dampening filters in them. So it's a simple matter of twisting the nozzle from the IEM and replacing them with the ones you want. We'll talk about how these different nozzles affect sound later, but at least it's great to know you have options to choose from. Talk about the unboxing of the LC7 very quickly. Essentially, you get a box, and inside you get a cable and an interchangeable 3.5mm termination. It comes equipped with a 4.4mm termination, and it's very similar to a lot of other interchangeable termination designs where you just align the groove and press it in and off you go with either the 3.5 or 4.4 termination. The cable feel itself is very nice. It's definitely a small step up from the stock cable of the EA1000. It's much thicker, is less prone to tangle, and a little more well behaved. The white color scheme looks really clean and pure, and again suits the EA1000 design theme. However, if there is one small nitpick I have with the upgrade cable, is with the ear hooks. Fresh off the box, I needed to bend the ear hooks a little bit more for it to actually hook on my ear, and it seems after a while it tends to go back to its original shape, which means I have to bend it again. And while it's not a huge deal breaker, I find myself having to adjust the EA1000 from time to time with this upgrade cable, so I ended up switching back to the stock cable. It could be just this particular cable, but if it's consistent throughout the LC7 cable, Simgot might want to tighten up that hook a little bit just to make it more secure. The design of the EA1000 is very similar to the EA500 in terms of shape and build. All metal build, there's some weight to it with its reflective exterior, which means it'll be a huge fingerprint magnet. The differences between the two are the fact that the EA1000 has the word Fermat on the sides of the shell, there's a bit of gold accents on the grills, which is a nice little touch to make the looks of the EA1000 a little bit more premium, especially compared to the EA500. And of course, the faceplate, which from afar looks like a plain white background with the Simgot logo on it, but looking closer, there's actually a pattern to the background, and the logo and border has a bit of a rose gold tint to it, but the reflectiveness of the logo and the border with the matte finish of the background with a glass-like cover just makes the entire faceplate pop despite its simplicity. One of the most elegant, clean yet striking looking faceplates for an IEM, and it puts a lot of IEM at higher price tags to shame. For fit and comfort, if you've worn the EA500, then the experience is largely the same. It's compact enough that it'll fit into your ear, but with its weight being slightly heavier than resin, you'd have to find the right ear tips and having cable with tight ear hooks to make sure everything is secure. Now, that's all out of the way, let's talk about sound. So the sound I'm about to describe is on the stock cable and on the silver nozzle with the red ring as a base. And I'll be describing the changes, if any, from the other nozzles and also the upgrade cable. For bass is clean. Think a smooth, solid ball with a clean surface. Punch and slam is just enough. Due to the cleanliness of the note, it sounds like it punches hard, but it doesn't cross over the territory of what bass head would love. At least for me personally, it doesn't punch as hard as something like the Duno Falcon Ultra. There's a bit of rumble, but definitely rolled off, so not enough to give it an illusion of texture. It's enough to accompany your tracks, and there's nothing more I can say other than it's clean. For mid-range, the overall mid-range sounds like an all-in-one presentation. The vocals are standing toe-to-toe with the background music. They both share the spotlight. It's separated enough that it doesn't overwhelm the vocals taking the center stage, but at the same time, if you're all about vocal presence, then it might sound a little lost with all the focus in the overall picture rather than the singer themselves. For treble, they sound relatively smooth to my ears. There's a bit of roll-off in the upper region, so sharp-sounding instruments like trumpet sounded a little distant. It's lacking a bit of that sparkle and bite from the upper regions, at least with the silver nozzle with the red rings. It's good if you're sensitive to treble highs, but I'm definitely missing that sense of attack from the trumpet instruments in my track. For technicalities, imaging is decent on the EA1000. Most of the sounds are coming from center with slight deviations to the left and right, rather than having a distinct sound coming from either the left or right channel. There's a bit of separation between the sounds that it helps some of the micro details to come through, which is good for a 2-driver IAM, however it still struggles a little bit on busier tracks. The overall soundstage is pretty standard for an IAM where it's not too close to you and it's not too recessed. All in all, it's decent, but definitely won't be blowing anyone's socks off at first listen. Changing to the gold nozzle with the white rings from the silver nozzle with the red rings, it's bringing out a bit of that treble presentation which I initially felt was lacking from the previous nozzle. It sounds a touch sharper, there's a bit more presence to the trumpet attack, but of course there's still a bit of distance to the sound, so don't be expecting a night and day difference, but at least the changes are a little bit noticeable. Bass takes a bit of a back seat compared to the previous nozzle, so you're on the go if you want some of those sharpness in the upper regions to come through at the sacrifice of some bass weight. The silver nozzle with the black ring sounds quite similar to the red rings, and to be completely honest, I'll be grasping at straws trying to differentiate between the two. The most obvious change would be between the gold nozzle and the silver nozzles. However, even with that, as mentioned earlier, the differences are minor at best, so don't be expecting an entirely different tuning to its original. At the end of the day, the silver nozzle with the red rings brings the best overall balance to the sound, and it's the one I use the most out of the 3 nozzles, followed by the gold nozzles. As for differences in sound between the stock cable and the LC7 cable, again, the differences are really minor, and I'd put it in these two camps. If you want a little bit more treble presence, details sounding a touch sharper, or having an illusion of more space between the sounds, then just stick with the stock cable. The LC7 made the EA1000 a little bit smoother in the treble region, the notes sounded a touch fuller with a bit more authority and weight. The overall sound presentation sounds a little bit more closed in and concise. I find myself leaning towards the stock cable on the silver nozzle with the red rings, but when using the upgrade cable, I find myself using the gold nozzle, but as with any other audio products, your experiences may vary. So to sum it all up, the Simgot EA500 is one of my favorite IAMs from Simgot, especially at that price point. So comparing that with the EA1000, which is 3 times the price, and while the EA1000 is a small step above the EA500, I'm finding it hard to justify making that leap from the EA500 to the EA1000, even though the accessories and the package presentations are better. But if you're purely looking for an upgrade from the EA500, however small it may be, then the EA1000 can be of consideration. But then again, there's also the EA500LM for your consideration as well. With that all said, thank you once again to Damien from the Australian Head-Fi Tour and Simgot for this opportunity. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Have you listened to the EA1000 and what are your experiences with it? Comment below and let me know. Thank you all once again for watching, and until the next experience, take care and happy listening.